winning all the time, especially if you're someone that maybe has perfectionistic tendencies, you don't like making mistakes. Games, I believe, in sports are a great way and metaphor for teaching us how to shift our relationship with making mistakes and learning. And so that was what I was trying to emphasize with the girls. I don't care if you swing or miss. I don't care if the ball goes under your legs on a ground ball. What I care about is that you keep trying, that if you made a mistake, you hopefully can learn from that experience. And with enough practice and tries, you won't keep making the same mistakes, and you will get better. You will scale. You will learn, right? Your LP will improve. But it's not going to improve if you are not trying, you're not experimenting, you're not taking risk, you're not dreaming big, you're giving up, right? If you're always complaining that somebody else caused the problem, someone else did this to you, more dog failed, you low rolled, that's not going to help you improve. If you can dream big, risk often, learn always, and try, be self-introspective, then the learning, the rewards down the line, those will all follow. And I believe that that will also allow you to have more fun playing the game. So that's kind of the origin story behind the meta mindset of the day, which is why I think this is also a relevant time to bring this up, because we're at the start of a new set, which is similar to my daughter playing softball for the first time. For you, playing set 14 for the first time means that there are going to be points at which you stumble. There are going to be points where you swing and miss, and that's okay. As long as you're trying, you're risking, and you're learning. And so I'm going to talk more in detail about kind of the theory and psychology behind these ideas.
Now I'm
All right, so Garry Kasparov, the chess master, in his book How Life Imitates Chess, said, "The strategist starts with a goal in the distant future and works backward to the present. A grandmaster makes the best moves because they are based on what he wants the board to look like 10 or 20 moves in the future." So this is definitely relevant from a tactical level in TFT, where you want to think about what are the best meta comps, what are the best item slams, which then, because you work backwards from the meta comps into the best early game meta item slams, what are the best augments, etc. But I want to zoom this idea out into kind of the meta layer of TFT and life, which is you want to start in the distant future as far as like what your goals are for TFT. If your goal is to actually get better, right, at TFT, think about where you want to be in the future, right? If you are hard stuck at Diamond and you want to be able to break into that master rank, you're at master, you want to break into GM, whatever it is. If you're at Iron, right? Like, let's say you have a goal, right? You want to dream big. You want to have something to reach toward, right? Then you have to work backwards. How do you actually go about getting there? And so just watching videos about what is good right now, trying to optimize for what is good LP-wise right now, that's like in a TFT game, just slamming items without thinking about where you can go in the long run. That's like making a decision that is based solely on what's in front of you instead of thinking 5 moves, 10 moves ahead, right? And the best way to actually think that many moves ahead is to think about where you want to be in the future, like Kasparov is saying, and then working backwards from it. And so this whole video is talking about if your goal is to get up here, how do you work backwards from there, and what is the process that you need to take in order to get there? So Kasparov furthermore says, it's not enough to be talented. It's not enough to work hard and to study late into the night. You must also become intimately aware of the methods you use to reach your decisions. So this is what I'm talking about in this video, is what is your methodology? What are the steps that you are taking if you're moving backwards from where you want to go? What is your process? Not just how hard you work, not just how talented you are, but being introspective into the meta layer of how you are going to go about improving. Kasparov continues to say, it's a bad habit to become over-reliant on one skill or one way of doing things just because it has in the past worked well for you. It's better to throw yourself off balance. And this is interesting because in TFT, it's almost forced, you're forced to confront this, right? Whether that's a new patch, whether that's a new set, the game is beautiful to me because it forces you to be thrown off balance. And I see that as a feature to the game, not a bug. I've talked before about how my son, he plays TFT. At the end of last set, I was telling him like, oh, set 14 is coming out in April. And he was like, oh, I don't want that. Like, because he was getting really used to playing Violet Family Reroll, right? And so he's getting upset that he's going to be thrown off balance. And I see this as a feature to the game because this is how we learn. And if you can get a process for throwing yourself off balance, for learning how to catch yourself and improve and learn in that process, that's the way you actually get better and grow over time. Not by continuing to do the same thing over and over and over and over again because it's familiar, because you think it works, because that's what gives you LP right now, because that's the surest way. Yeah, you might climb in the short term, but you're gonna fall off a cliff the moment that the environment changes, the moment that a new set comes out, new patch comes out. In the real world, when you think about careers, AI is rapidly replacing jobs at an accelerated rate, right? And if you get comfortable doing one skill over and over and over again, if you're not learning and growing in your career, you are actually falling behind. You're not even staying still, right? Like, and so that's also why I think TFT is an amazing metaphor for life, because rapid change has already been occurring in the world and it will only continue to accelerate. It is an existential risk to anybody that is a knowledge worker. If you aren't learning, you do not be surprised the day that you are let go and you are wondering what happened, right? And so Kasparov is saying it's actually a good habit to throw yourself off balance regularly. And Dish Soap talked about this in stream, where he took Salvage Bin, where you can sell and remake your items in a game where I believe it was forward thinking, where you get a ton of gold in stage 4, which he self-acknowledged this is gonna be make an extremely hard 4-2 roll down, where he has to do a massive roll down with a ton of gold and then remake a ton of items. And he said, I'm going to do this because I know this is going to be hard, because I know it's going to be challenging and throw me off balance, and I need to practice this, right? So if Dish Soap, 2-time world champion Dish Soap, is intentionally making choices like that, and he probably made a bunch of mistakes, and that was not optimal for his short-term LP, right? But you only become a world champion by putting yourself in those types of situations. And Kasparov was one of probably top 3 to 5, and I'm a little out of date with my chess, but top 3 to 5 like chess players of all time. He was world champion like for a while, and so this is, if Kasparov does this, if Dish Soap does this, you can definitely do this, right?
Such a busy world.
By the way, I'm gonna drink more water because last time I was my voice was getting a little hoarse.
Ram is on the job.
All right. Kasparov also says, the more you experiment, the more successful your experiments will be. Break your routines, even to the point of changing ones you are happy with, to see if you can find new and better methods. This reminds me of Asa, who's consistently top 20 and runs an amazing program at tftcoaching.com, and he, in some of my coaching sessions with him, talked about really practicing your 4-2 roll down and going way faster than you were comfortable with, to the point that you make a mistake. His argument is that if you are not making a mistake or missing any units on your 4-2 roll down, you are likely rolling too slowly. And so his whole idea was keep pushing, get yourself out of your comfort zone, experiment, right? And Asa in our Discord channel for that community was also talking about how he's been practicing with Talker Trials because I haven't experimented with this. And I'm not exactly sure how Talker works, but he said that you can get a lot of gold and within a much shorter time have something like 100 gold on stage 4 odds and basically practice doing a 4-2 roll down, getting much more deliberate practice about that, and then testing out that methodology of rolling down and clicking as fast as you can to the kind of limit test where you are actually missing units and making mistakes. And that's the way that you get better. Kasparov also says, the one time you are surely learning something is when you are nervously attempting something new, even if it is simply solving a routine problem in a novel way. So a basic idea here is that if you are not feeling nervous or anxious when you are playing, that is also a sign that you have stopped learning, that you are not learning anything new anymore. So that's also one of the ideas that I'm trying to teach the girls softball team is it's okay if you're feeling nervous or scared. That's normal. That's actually a sign that you're trying something new, that you are being brave and bold. You are taking risk. And that is the sign that you are learning. That is what I care about more. I care more that you are trying and being brave and taking risk than whether you make a mistake. Because the learning will follow from the mistakes as long as you are being deliberate and earnest about this process. But if you're not taking the risk, right? You are staying on the sidelines. You don't want to go in the game. And sometimes it takes us some time to build up that confidence again, right? And that's okay. But if what you're doing is just on autopilot, you are sticking to the same comp, you're sticking to the same style of play, you're not feeling nervous and anxious when you approach the game or in life, that just means you've stopped learning and you put yourself at existential risk of being replaced, of becoming redundant. Furthermore, you're probably gonna get bored doing the same thing. It's like, to me, that's not fun anymore, right? What's fun to me is feeling that anxiety, feeling that nervousness, taking the risk, falling flat on my face sometimes, but learning in the process, but then seeing the results and the returns and the rewards come later, which is rewarding, yes, but it's about the process itself that I find so interesting and rewarding. Simon Bolivar, a South American liberator, said, only an inexperienced soldier believes that all is lost after being defeated for the first time. So similar to my daughter, and this is a natural human reaction, right? This is just how we think. If we make a mistake, we're judged, we want to give up. And so the more that we can practice being defeated, making mistakes, losing, and then getting back up, learning from those experiences, the more experienced of a soldier we become, the more experienced of a gamer, player, career person, whatever it is, right? That's how you improve, is creating that mental fortitude to say, okay, I lost, I was defeated, I made a mistake. What can I learn? How can I get better? This is going to actually help me get to where I want to go. The obstacle is not the thing that's going to shut me down. The obstacle is the way that will help me get to where I want to go. The obstacle is the door that I have to figure out how to open to help me get where I want to go, right? It's not the thing that's going to block me from where I want to go. Michael Jordan, one of the all-time greats in basketball, said, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed. So same idea. It is not the misses that matter. It's not the losses that matter. It's not the failure that matters. It is your approach and your mindset and how you react to those losses, those misses, those failures, how you learn from those that dictate what happens to your life, that dictates what happens to how much you're able to climb in TFT. Thich Nhat Hanh, a Buddhist teacher, said, "Without suffering, you cannot grow. Without suffering, you cannot get the peace and joy you deserve. Please don't run away from your suffering. Embrace it and cherish it." So this connects back to what Kasparov was talking about. When you are nervously attempting something new, that's the sign that you're learning, right? Without the suffering, without the discomfort, you can't grow. It is with the discomfort, with the suffering. That is how you grow. That is how you find peace and joy in life. Meister Eckhart said, the perfection of virtue is born in struggle. So again, thinking about the metaphor of a diamond and how a diamond is created. It is through intense pressure, and I believe heat,
Cheater's just a
that
fancy word for
such a
weird.
strong, beautiful stone is created, right? You think about massive, giant oak trees. The strongest ones are the ones that are able to survive the most violent storms, right? So without suffering, you can't grow. Without struggle, you cannot achieve virtue and perfection.
I have my orders.
Anders Ericsson and Robert Poole, who did a ton of research on peak performance, said, if you never push yourself beyond your comfort zone, you will never improve. So going back to my daughter's softball team, the key thing is trying to find a risk, an incremental risk that you can take that's just outside your comfort zone. If you're taking too much risk, too much anxiety, too much discomfort, then your body kind of shuts down, your brain shuts down, and you freeze or you try to run away. Flight or flight kind of reaction occurs with your emotional brain, right? Which is what happened to the other girl on my daughter's softball team. It was just too overwhelming for her, too much at once, right? And so actually in the second game of the season, she was also really uncomfortable, and I was just trying to get down to her level, making eye contact with her, and I was just saying, look, I know you feel scared right now, I know you feel nervous right now, and that's completely normal. I don't actually care when you're going up to hit, whether you swing and miss or not. I don't care how far you hit it. All that matters to me is that you try. Can you confront, can you sit with the nervousness and the fear and the discomfort when we go up there? And I'll go up there with you together. We'll do it together, right? All I care about, when you're ready, let's go up.
Topple their
You sit with that discomfort, you try. And whatever happens, I don't care. But what I will feel most proud of for you is if you go up there and be brave and courageous and you try. And she looked at me, and she believed me, and she nodded her head, she went up there, she swung and missed a few times, hit the ball, ran to first. And from then on, she was like getting really into it, right? So the key is, put yourself in that discomfort, sit with those uncomfortable emotions, learn to get comfortable with them. And once you do that, you can become unstoppable in climbing. Brad Stolberg and Steve Magnus in their book Peak Performance said,
You in good hands.
growth comes at the point of resistance. We learn by pushing ourselves to the outer reaches of our abilities. So same idea. No resistance, no growth, right? Like if you think about strength training, you do push-ups, you do bench presses. What is happening when you do that physically? You're breaking down your muscles. It is when the resistance occurs that your body realizes, oh, I need to get stronger, or your brain realizes you made a mistake, stuff isn't as strong as it should be. The brain knows, like, okay, I need to fill in the gap of what's missing, I need to learn, right? It is through the resistance that the growth and strengthening occurs. It is not by avoiding the resistance. When you avoid physical resistance, that's when your muscles atrophy. When you do not use your muscles, then your body says, well, I don't need these anymore. And then it starts burning off your muscles to use as energy, and it goes away. Same applies to your brain. If you don't consistently challenge yourself to put your brain into points of resistance, similarly with TFT, you don't step outside your comfort zone. Try out new units, try out new comps, try out new styles of play. If you play AD, trying out AP. If you play AP, trying out melee, right?
Really
Experimenting with different lenses
fuck?
through which to look at the game, asking yourself different questions. What can I do differently? That's the way you challenge your brain to face resistance and grow and learn. Rilke said,
That's right.
the fact that a thing is difficult must be one more reason for our doing it.
It took me forever, holy shit.
So most people think,
I messed up.
especially kids, think this is hard, it's too hard, I don't want to do it, right? But the moment we can help our kids shift their mentality to saying, this is hard, I don't want to do it, if they or if you can adopt the mindset, damn, this is hard, that's why I should do it. The moment you adopt that mentality, your entire life will shift. Because then you will be facing head on the challenges, you will be entering new territory, you will be pushing new points of resistance, entering new comfort zone, you will be suffering, you will struggle,
What the
you
fuck?
will nervously attempt something new. And that is the way that you will learn, that is the way that you will grow, that is the way that you will improve,
Just shit on my guy.
and gain so much more confidence in yourself, joy in your life, confidence and pride in who you are and what you have done. And it just shifts your entire mentality to life from being one of a victim where the world is full of challenges and you are in a prison, like where the walls are closing in on you and you have limited freedom, to one in which, like, yeah, I'm kind of in this prison, but it's more of like a cage where it's gonna be hard, where I can figure out a way to get out. And you keep on opening doors and doors and doors. It's like those escape rooms where it's like, yeah, it's hard. And if you adopt the mentality, well, it's hard, I shouldn't do it, then you're stuck in that room forever, right? But if you adopt the mentality that, yeah, it's hard, but I can figure out a way out, then you open more and more doors, and like your life just like
Oh
unlocks.
fuck, my guy just pops like it's like.
Randy Pausch, in his book The Last Lecture, Pausch was a professor at Carnegie Mellon, I believe, and he had terminal cancer. He is now passed, but he wrote an amazing book. He actually gave an amazing lecture in his final days, and a huge idea that has always stuck with me.
Darkness to darkness.
He said, the
Light
brick
to
walls
light.
are not there to keep us out. The brick walls are there to give us a chance to show how badly we want something. Because the brick walls are there to stop the people who don't want it badly enough. So this idea, when I first heard it, just really like struck me. Like, is this huge insight unlocked in my brain that's like, oh, I always thought the brick walls were there to like
That always said.
prevent
not
me from
those.
going somewhere, right? It's a prison. It's a fixed hard fact. But the moment I realized, oh, it's
Fuck is
actually
this?
there because other people don't want it badly enough, and if I really want something, it actually works in my favor, because if I can get on the other side of those brick walls, that becomes a huge competitive advantage, because I'm willing to do the things that other people are unwilling to do. The moment I can prove that I can get over that brick wall or get around it, or punch a hole through it, get some tools to like lift them up, whatever it is, right? It's a hard challenge, the difficult thing that I'm willing to do. Then that becomes a barrier to entry, if you think about this in business terms, becomes a barrier to entry to all the other competitors who have not figured out how to solve that problem, who don't have the confidence or
I don't know,
courage
bro.
to actually approach the problem. or to the people that just can't figure out how to solve it or accept that the brick wall is a fact and will stay on the other side of the brick wall, right? And so in business terms, this is also true where if you're thinking about starting a startup and you're trying to decide between path A and path B, where path A is easier and path B is harder, in business terms, a lot of times it actually makes sense to do the harder thing because that is a huge barrier to entry that if you can solve that problem, you will have far less competition on the other side of that wall than on this side because a lot of people can copy you here and people can't copy you here as easily. So same is true in TFT. If you can figure out how to solve a fast problem, like let's say playing the reward cash out trade, like Cypher, yeah, there's a huge brick wall there. It's a huge high skill cap to be able to play Cypher correctly. You will get lots of 8th choices. And that's okay, right? You are nervously attempting something new, breaking your routines, off balance. But that is the brick wall that helps you get where you want to go. And if you can figure out how to play cash out trades, that becomes a huge competitive advantage to all the people who think that that's a brick wall, that Cypher sucks, that it's too hard to learn, right? But the moment you let go of the immediate results and focusing solely on what's right in front of you, the short term, if you can think about, hey, like, this could be fun. I want to dream big, right? You have this vision of where you want to go in life. Let's say you want to start a new career. Let's say you want to push for that next job promotion. You want to learn a new coding language or a new language. The moment that you dream big and are willing to take that risk and learn in the process, at that point, once you make that commitment, all that matters is time. Because for someone else who is stuck, even if they're at a higher LP than you, they're stuck here, you're down here. As long as you are committed to dreaming big, trying and experimenting, and learning from those mistakes, your slope is positive. If their slope is flat or declining, especially if they're not actually experimenting at all, their slope is probably going down, right? So even if their rank's higher than you, at some point in the future, the lines will cross and you will beat them, right? And so part of this is also having confidence and faith that if you commit to the thing that you want, even though the brick wall seems so insurmountable, eventually you will get there. And once you get there, that becomes this huge advantage that you have because you showed how badly you want it, and all the other people are stopped because they don't want it badly enough. And that's also why I've talked before in my meta mindsets that the more that you're having fun in your process, the more you are enjoying it, one of our family values with my kids is follow the fire in your belly. And I know like the idea of like passion is kind of an overused term these days, but I do truly believe that the more that you enjoy what you are doing, it allows you to do the hard work, to face the discomfort, to enter the resistance, to put yourself in uncomfortable situations, to show how badly you want it, if you are also enjoying the process itself. If you have a vision and dream of where you want to go, and it sounds so amazing that pursuing it no longer feels like a grind or like hard work. It just feels like the perfect life you want to live, right? And when you can get to that point where you're doing hard things, doing uncomfortable things, putting yourself in a point of resistance, you're growing, and yet you're enjoying that process, that's when the magic like really unlocks, and you can start to see, this kind of growth where
you got me?
set over set you can continue to improve, or whether it's in your career, your personal life, your relationships. That's when the magic happens. All right, so with that said, I want to apply Kasparov's idea about finding new and better methods and becoming intimately aware of the methods you use to reach your decisions.
Alright, dude, let's close this
And I'm
one.
connected back to the idea of dream big, risk often, learn always, and I want to focus on the learn always part of, like, let's say you have taken risks, you have tried out some new comps, you were put into uncomfortable situations, you did make mistakes, whether you got 8th, whether you got, even if you got first, right? There's something that you can probably learn from what happened. And so the next step that I've been working out in my process is how to go about self-reviewing your games to maximize the amount that you're learning, assuming that you took the risk, assuming that you dream big and risk often. How can you best learn always? How can you make each game a stair on your staircase to where you want to go? How do you scale, right? If you think about TF, the thumbnail of this video with Rageblade, how do you get that scaling effect? With each time you attack, your attack speed goes up. With each game that you play, you're not necessarily your LP immediately going up, but your knowledge set going up, your understanding of the fundamentals going up, because that's what stays consistent across patches and sets, right? When you think about applying this to life, not just how do you learn something new for what your kind of narrowly focused job task is at the moment, but how can you learn something new that can help you learn how to learn? How can it help you learn how to approach the way you approach your job in a new and novel way so that you can climb to the next level of your career ladder, right? So that's what I'm going to be talking about in this section of the game, of this video. So first step is, if you're not sure how to record games, since that's kind of a necessary prerequisite, you can use OBS. You just search Google OBS on Google. If I remember, I'll try to include a link in the description below. And Outplayed, for the purposes of this video, by the way, OBS kind of looks like this. This is how I record this video. You just hit start, stop, record, and then it'll just capture your screen in the game, and then you could just watch it as a video after. There's another app called Outplayed, which is really cool because it lets you quickly jump to different sections of the game and like captures your match history. You can rename the matches based off of the game itself. So these
It didn't give me
I would
Slayer.
recommend as the apps or tools to use to capture your games, which will make it a lot easier to do this self-analysis. All right, so the biggest impact questions, I was struggling because I came up with a long list of stuff that I could review after each game, but then I found that because that list was too long, I just wasn't energized or motivated to actually do it. So I kind of narrowed it down to these are the biggest impact questions. So right after the game, the end board state, and kind of early mid board state. So right after the game, and this is easier to do right after the game because you kind of are in the emotional state and have a strong memory of what happened, which you might not be able to get to in every game. And I'm gonna go through some examples of my own games today. And so I might not remember all of these
play
since
defense, play
it's not
defense.
right after the game. So the more you could do it quickly right after, the better. And I talked in my last video about how actually taking deliberate breaks between games instead of instantly queuing up right away after is helpful because it kind of resets your brain so that you can get more enjoyment out of it, because your dopamine levels get spiked when you play these games. And if you keep spiking it, it makes it harder and harder for you to keep enjoying the game, because you need even more dopamine to hit the same level of enjoyment. And so that's why a lot of people go on tilt, because you just are trying to play more and more to capture that same feeling of like high, and then you become like a drug addict basically. And so not only will this process help you get better, but it'll help you enjoy the game more and minimize the likelihood that you go on tilt, which actually would help you improve your LP,
Fuck, what the fuck?
like outside of the context of just actually getting better at the game. So there's many reasons why this process should be helpful for you and help you enjoy the game. So right after the game, I want to ask myself, when did I struggle to make a decision? So hopefully you remember like, oh, that 4-2 roll down was really hard, or that 2-1 augment decision I took a while because I wasn't sure what to do, or maybe early stage 3 I'm trying to pick which line selection, which angle path I want to take in the game, and I was trying to decide between path A, I could have gone this reroll line or this fast 8 line, and I wasn't sure what to do, right? So the more you can identify that, then you can jump straight to that point in the game and do a more detailed analysis of what occurred there. And then with more time, because a lot of times we're under time pressure during the game, with more time we can actually have a better understanding to break down what were the pros and cons of the different options that were available to me. Next question. What were the biggest inflection decisions or kind of inflection points in the game? Which a lot of times will be line selection, which is why line selection is a big one. But it could also be, let's say a lot of times this could be 4-2 roll down, right? Did we roll aggressively enough down to use most of our gold to spike our board? That's a huge impact because a lot of times if you don't successfully execute your 4-2 roll down, you could lose a lot of HP in stage 4. And that, I think last set or early in set 13 or maybe the previous set, I did a bunch of detailed analysis on how much HP I was losing in stage 4, and it was very consistently, I was losing like 30 to 50 HP a game in stage 4. And so thinking about what are the biggest inflection points in your decision-making process will help you focus in on the areas of the game that will help you improve the most. And many of these questions here is designed to help with that, but right after the game, when you have the game fresh in your mind, it'll be easier to jump straight to the point than to do like a detailed analysis of every game, especially if you want to do this in a time-efficient manner. Then kind of capturing this information right after is a lot more efficient. And how much did a high versus low roll? And this is also something that you can figure out using Meta TFT in their match history section. Like if you go into the game shop analysis, it'll tell you if you high rolled or low rolled. Unfortunately, this is only available, I believe, if you download Meta TFT's client. It'll tell you like you hit, like I hit any 2-star 80% later than usual, but I hit Nico to 0.24%. I think I duplicated her. So it doesn't.
Holy shit. Oh fuck.